Welcome to the FLK Krys podcast. So if we get any interruptions or anything like that, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's totally fine. We're just
I can't guarantee that you won't.
Yeah, it's totally fine. No one cares. Also, like, that's kind of part of this episode, and I did an IG live with you, but I've never done a podcast, right?
I don't know if I've never done an IG live. I don't think so.
I think we did like a long time ago.
I know I've recorded a lot of things, like videos. I've sent them in. Maybe I did.
I think you did.
I don't even remember.
I think you did. Okay. It was a very long time ago. 2021 probably, but back when I was doing IG lives. Anyway, it's been a long time coming, and I'm like getting away from this whole like formal introduction on podcasts because I don't even like listening to them myself. So I just want to get into the conversation. I will just say that whoever is listening and tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in today. I have one of my, not even like longest standing clients, but one of my most dedicated, I would say dedicated clients, dedicated members of the community, what I believe to be a pillar of the community, one of the people that helps me build the community through her dedication. And she is someone who I've personally witnessed go through so many obstacles and has gone through them with such grace. One of my clients that I completely admire. And I have some questions for her, and I can't wait to see where this conversation goes. So everybody, this is Elizabeth. I don't know who's listening, but this is everybody. Welcome to the FLK Krys podcast.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to be here.
Long time coming. So what initially, can you remember, I know our initial connection, and you can kind of start with that if you want, how you found me, but what initially drew you to the program to like actually join? Because that's like a step for people, right? There are so many options of things you can join. So what initially drew you to the program?
Sure. So for me, probably like a lot of the crew members, it was just in the middle of the pandemic, and I had been, kind of in a rut. And I said, okay, I'm going to start running again. And that's what I do. When I don't know what to do, I just start to run. And it was awful and terrible. And I hated every minute of it. And it was not enjoyable. And then I don't follow anybody on Instagram. I only joined Instagram back in the day because a friend of mine moved, and she said, I don't message people. I don't email people. If you want to know about us and our lives, you have to join Instagram and just follow me on Instagram. I was like, great. So that's why I joined Instagram. And the only people I followed was her and people who cooked or had multiple children, like not real chefs, like people who cooked at home for families. Those are the only people that I followed. Nobody famous. And my sister-in-law was like, you should totally follow Bobbi Brown. You would love her. I know how much you love her. You should follow her content. It's really interesting. So I did. And so that was my connection to you, is that she posted about she was doing stuff from home and it was virtual and she was loving it. And so I started to follow you, and it was just perfect timing because you launched your summer camp challenge, and I got my sister to do it with me. And in 3 weeks, I felt like a new person.
So the summer camp Instagram challenge was your first FLK?
My first taste of FLK.
Okay. Yeah. So what drew you to the program was a recommendation, like someone obviously you respected, like recommended Bobbi Brown as saying she's doing this thing. You're like, oh, so Correct. It must be legit.
Right. Exactly. She had done personal training with you. And I was like, I wasn't doing anything else. We didn't have access to gyms. I didn't have access to other content. And I was like, well, she's doing this virtually from home in her living room. So I'm going to see what it's all about. So I started following you. And a couple of weeks later, you had launched your challenge, and it looked doable. And it was attractive because you had the checklist, which I am a check follower. I am a rule follower in life. And my sister was like, I was like, do it with me. It could be fun. And she's like, I don't know. I was like, no, let's just do it. And I was like, if we crash and burn, who cares? Like, we have nothing else to do.
Okay. So go ahead.
A lot of fun. In the end, it was a lot of fun. And that's kind of what kept me doing it.
How many kids do you have?
I have 5.
How old are they?
So 15, she's, I think 13, 12, 10, and 8.
I love when you don't remember how old your kids are. That's how you know you have a lot of kids, is when you're like, I'm not sure how old they are. What are their names? Could tell us their names. I'm quizzing you.
Somewhere in there. So I have Sienna, Martina, Rocco, Maximo, and Luna. I do know that. Don't ask birthdays though, because then I'm gone.
Okay,
I'm out.
that's understandable. I love that you don't know your kids' birthdays. That's fine because
Yeah.
they all mix together. Um,
Yes.
okay, so five kids. And you have been part of FLK Method for about 5 years
Mhm.
ish. So they were younger. Were they
Yes.
all 10 and under, like 11 and under, 10 and under, because your oldest is
Yes.
15?
Yes.
Okay, so
They were very young.
that's one of the when you did summer camp, let's go post COVID maybe. Let's fast forward, jump fast. So you fell in love with the program. It's fun, it's doable. You can do it from home. You have five kids, and it's
Hmm.
still something that you're able to sustain. Um, can you share a specific moment that, and maybe it's in the beginning, like that sticks out to you that was like made it different or like this is different?
Yes,
Aha
because
moment.
sure. So I give kind of, I've always done something. I've always moved my body. And then I took about 10 years off my 30s when I had all my children. So my only formal exercise was taking care of them, pushing them in the stroller, taking them to the parks, doing that sort of thing. When I turned, I guess it was when Luna was probably one, I started going to the bar studio. And that was like the first organized movement I had done for probably 10 years. And I loved it. But again, it only takes you so far. I found that I had plateaued and then I needed more to mix it up. So when I did the summer camp, it was a lot of small checks that were very doable, but I was getting a total body workout.
Mm.
And it got me out of the rut of just going to do 45 minutes of cardio. So my aha moment was, hey, I can do all of the checks, or I can do some of the checks, and I still felt like I was again a good workout. And they were in such small bite-sized pizzas that I could fit it into my day at the very beginning when I could not block an hour for exercise.
So let's talk about the checklist, because it's such a big part of FLK method and what I do. And one of the reasons it is and why I even offer that as a thing is because it worked for me. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
train people. I'm like, if it works for me, it's going to work for other people. Um, when you when you are out of a FLK method challenge, like, are you still using a checklist? Like, do you use a checklist for your routine?
I live by your checklist.
Yeah.
It has become second nature to me. I no longer think about what are my checks for today. I probably have a solid 8 checks that I, over time, have just come a part of my natural lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I still follow it and I do use it because one of your best tricks is plan for things. So if you're planning for, a dinner out, or if you're planning to have a rest day during the week, I'm thinking about the checks and how I'm going to compensate them throughout the week. But on a natural day, I already know now it's become just part of who I am about drinking water, which I didn't used to do. How am I going to get outside and move my body at some point during the day? What am I doing spiritually? What am I doing for my emotional health? But that checklist is what keeps me consistent 100%.
And you use the word tricks. Like, one of my tricks is planning, and that's always funny to me because I'm like, everything I do is so basic. It's actually the opposite of a trick. However, I think that there is a specific way to do it, and the checklist and how I train people, there is a method to it, hence FLK method. So if anybody's listening right now and they're like, oh, like a list. First of all, I would say you could literally use any list. Like, it doesn't matter if it's my list, whatever, but you can use any list. But I think part of the reason and what I want you to talk a little bit about, Elizabeth, is when you do have a list of things that are sort of prioritized for the day and you're making and confirming that list daily, like it's not something that you make one time and never look at again. You're actually, well, in my head, I make it weekly, but let's say you're just starting with the day. Um, Even if you have 5 children. You are able to
Right.
not only be successful in your life and with your children, but you're also successful to take care of yourself. So I want you to just speak to the mom who has new baby, maybe just one, 2 kids under 2, you know, 5 kids. One of my most
Right.
recent client has 7 kids, like, and the thing I hear first, and sometimes first and sometimes it always becomes a thing, is like, I don't have time.
Right.
So how do you speak to that person? Like, what advice would you give them for, in terms of integrating anything or a checklist? Like, what advice can someone with small children or multiple children take care of themselves?
Right. And I think that one of my biggest takeaways from FLK has been that even when I felt like there was no way I could squeeze in any more time into my day, it was, you gave me a check to wake up early. That changed everything. I used to always wake up with my children, and then that's how I started my day, and it was always chaotic. When I learned to wake up before they did and use an hour, whatever time I had, to myself, whether it was through exercise or meditation or prayer or just having coffee in peace, it has made me a better mother because I'm taking time for myself, and it is so grounding that I find that I start my day with more patience. So then I can give myself more to everybody else because I've already given time to myself. And I think that has been what has also kept me consistent, is that I find it physically, mentally, emotionally so fulfilling. And it was what keeps me going. I actually recently fell off of a horse and I have a fractured vertebrae and I can't move. Like I can't move my arms above my head. I'm not supposed to exercise. And for the first 3 or 4 days, I was totally overwhelmed because all I've done for the past 4 years is move my body, not only physically, but for my mental and emotional health. And I honestly almost panicked because I said, what am I going to do to stay grounded? Because that was my go-to, was movement. Now, what am I going to do? Well, again, I went back and I said, what would Krys do? And it said, I made my I can checklist. What can I do?
Yes.
I can still drink water. I can still eat healthy, nutritious meals. I can walk, even if they say don't. I know that now I can get outside and take a 10-minute walk. I can read. I can, pray. I can do all of these things. That's still a healthy bunch of what the bulk of my checklist is. So again, I had to go back and say, okay, I still have my checklist. I can't do a workout, but what else can I do to stay grounded and to give me the patience that I normally get from movement?
And I didn't know that you did that to your back. You didn't tell me that. You're just telling me that right now, right? Did you tell me that? I don't think so.
I might have
This
told you.
happened
I
4
don't
days
know. I
ago?
don't. No, no, no. Like almost 2.5 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I still don't think you might have told me you fell off a horse, but I didn't know the level of.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'm thank you for going into that. Because I was just about to ask you, yes, you have been consistent for 5 years, but that doesn't mean perfect.
No.
And what happens when you're not using the checklist, when you get out of routine, when you fall out of, like, because I think that is the biggest misconception, or people hear and think of the word consistency and they confuse it with the word constant. Consistency
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean constant. Consistency means most of the time. So
Correct.
most of the time prioritizing yourself. So when you are injury is one thing. So we just heard a little bit about how you get through that. What about when you mentally get out of the routine and your routine is just out of whack? So you've done a lot. Actually, tell us a little bit about the last year, because your life went through a couple major changes. So you can,
Yes.
as much or little as you want to share, but then how you were able to be consistent throughout that time.
Okay. So my husband is from Spain. We have 5 young children. We made the choice as a family to move to Spain for a year so that they could really learn the language, be more exposed to their culture, from where they come from. We really wanted them to be uncomfortable. My children have been very comfortable all of their lives. We wanted them to feel like what it is to be new, what it is to have challenges, what it is to overcome them, and also have the opportunity to be close to their other family. Just, it was a whole set of reasons that just made sense for us to all come for a year. I have to say it's been fantastic. I'm not going to lie to you. The first few months, there was, like everything, you go, 6 feet under and you dig yourself out. But it's been so beautiful. I mean, everything that they've learned, they're all walking away with it with a beautiful experience. They're all saying they are, have these bittersweet feelings about leaving when none of them wanted to stay. They all said they would come back. But the fact that they had challenges and overcome them, we can't give them, a better gift in life than that. But this year, my husband traveled back and forth through the US. So his job didn't change. He stayed with his job. So I was solo parenting most of the time in another country. Logistically, it's hard because I'm one person and I could get help from my in-laws to drive and that sort of thing. But we figured it out and made it work. But as far as consistency goes, is that I don't feel like since I've done FLK, I don't feel like I've ever gone off the deep end where I've been completely disconnected from FLK. There have definitely been, the intensity has peaked and valleyed, but I have not been consistent. There hasn't been a day, I can honestly say there hasn't been a day that I have not thought about FLK or how it's affected my day. It is just, like I said, it has become a lifestyle. It's a part of who I am. So the consistency part comes with, like, for example, with the injury. In the end, there are so many checks in a checklist that keep you healthy and keep you consistent without necessarily having to move your body. So if I can keep in that routine, then when I can exercise, I'll plug it back in. Or if I'm out with my children all day long driving for 8 hours and I physically cannot get a workout in, I still can think, oh, well, I just dropped them off. I have 20 minutes. You can get out of the car and you can walk, things that maybe you didn't think about before. And you have to get creative. You really just have to think, how can I get in some movement today? How can I make sure that I'm going to get my water in when I'm, in the car all day, or whatever the case may be?
I like the word you use, plug, like plug in, because that's sort of how I think about a routine. And I think that FLK method works for a lot of people and doesn't work for a lot of people for the same reason. And it's excuse proof. Like you can't, there are no excuses to prevent you from taking care of yourself. And so for some people that's really scary and it's too much and they don't want to do it because they're used to there being an excuse that works and actually is valid. But with FLK method and what
Right.
you spoke to so beautifully is that if you're focusing on what you can do, and at FLK method, we're talking about movement, nutrition, planning and in planning / intellectual stuff, spirituality, like there are so many things. I mean, and the combination, when you pair like the things with the combination of things, there's infinite ways to take care of yourself. So because
Correct.
that's a truth, you get into this mindset. Ideally for me, is you are like the model, member of what I aspire, how I aspire my coaching sort of to land, because I can't control that, but is what I have, which is like, I enjoy my life and I prioritize my health. They're not two different things, right? Like they're the
Correct.
same thing. They have to be the same thing. Like I have to be able to live my life, not someone else's life. And so for someone of a mom of 5 kids, or anybody even with outside of children, just very busy and just if you have a lot on your plate, like i.e. you're living in this world, you have a lot on your plate. It's really challenging to prioritize your health when you're trying to do it in one way, right? Like if the
Right.
one way doesn't work.
And I think something else I've learned through FLK is I was a all or nothing. I'm either doing it or I'm not. And that is also a learning curve for me because I'm still all in all the time. I do have that mentality, but it has helped me to say it doesn't have to be all of it all of the time. You can pick and choose. You make it work. You figure out what's going to work with your day to day to still be successful. And again, I think that's what keeps you coming back, is because you do feel successful every day. You feel like you've achieved something, that you're not failing, that because you didn't do it all. No, you need to mix it up, and you need to keep it interesting and fun and different. And the variety of workouts that you provide are amazing because you don't always have to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you that flexibility to say, okay, well, maybe it's just going to be a yoga and a walk a day today,
And that's
and
okay.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That would be great. Like, I need to do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I really hope that someone is listening to this that feels overwhelmed with like can't, and this helps them shift to like, okay, what can I do? Because there are so many things that each of us individually can do, no matter the circumstance, truly. And there are so many different circumstances that we can find ourselves in. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to ask the question, did I prioritize my health?
Right.
Even better, did I prioritize my health the way I planned? Right? Like, have a plan. Don't just like conceptually
Yes.
prioritize your health.
And I think too, what FLK is really good about is kind of toning out the noise, because there's so much that we are bombarded with, so much information every day about this is what you have to be doing. This is the new fad. This is the new trend. And it may work for you, it may not, but you have to figure out what works for you individually. There's not just this one rule that works for everybody, which I think FLK has been really good about teaching me about. Find out what works for you and then do that. But also just your very balanced, it's very basic information, nutrition, exercise, all of it. None of it is extreme, but it's just almost like common sense. Like, if you block out all the noise that people are trying to market to you all day, every day, and just do what works for you, great, do that.
Yeah, I was just talking about that on Instagram Live, and I am not anti anything. I'm actually pro everything when it comes to health, in the sense that, like, try it.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried so many things, and I don't, other than the basic stuff, I don't put emphasis on those other things because I haven't found most of those other things to be beneficial in terms of consistency. Am I going
Mm-hmm.
to do it most of the time? I'm not going to suggest a supplement that I personally am not, taking most of the time, and I'm not saying that stuff can't work for other people, but this is what I want people to leave with this point that Elizabeth just brought up. There is a lot of noise out there. It's not right or wrong. It's you putting in the effort to find out if it might be right for you. And the proof is powerful. You
Yes.
have to find the proof, though. You can't have proof until you actually do the thing. And that's one of my favorite conversations that I have with people. And I've had these conversations a lot of times with you, especially because most of my clients are women between the age of, I would say, I mean, I have like 20s and 30s, but most of my clients are between like 40 and 70. So I talk a lot about protein and protein powder and grams of protein and just everything you could think about protein, and then also resistance training, and I always challenge, and dairy, that's another thing I talk, and cottage cheese because that's a fad. And it's like, I will never personally, I will say to you, try it. And
Right.
also, if you're trying any program, this is another thing I'll say. If you're buying a supplement or trying a program, whether that's FLK Method or anything, do what the program says
Yes.
and then decide, right? Like, don't like pick and choose the pieces you want, because then it's not going to work how it's intended to work,
Right.
right?
No, and I think that's a great point that you make. And I found that Bikini Boot Camp is a really great way for self-discovery of what works for you. Because you try something for a week, hey, is that working? Let's do it again. Or no, you know what? I found that wasn't working. Well, let's switch it up. So I've done multiple bikini boot camps. Never has one been the same.
Yeah.
I've always learned something new. I've taken away something. I've my results have been different, but they have all been successful because I learned something about myself, and I've learned something about what makes me feel good and what doesn't make me feel good. And then I take the pieces away and say, okay, I'm going to keep doing that. And that's what's going to keep me consistent, because in the end, you stay consistent when you feel good.
Yeah.
I've learned that when I change the way that I eat, I feel good. And when
Yeah.
I don't eat that way, I don't feel good. Now I can make the choice and say, well, I know it's not going to feel good, but I really want to eat that. Great,
Yes.
do. But I know that about my body now because it's almost been like a case study. And I've figured out through your direction and through the opportunities to try different things of what actually does work for me.
Yeah.
And I've also learned through almost like through the bikini boot camp as kind of a lifestyle change is that I have a kind of mantra in my head is it's the rule, not the exception. So the rule is that I move my body and I eat healthy most of the time at home and I cook my own food every day, that sort of thing. That's my rule. But I have exceptions where I don't always exercise, or I decide to eat out, or I choose to eat something else, or whatever the case may be. And it's okay to have those exceptions because my rule, my everyday norm, is consistent.
Yes. Yeah.
But
And
I
that's,
learned that through coaching, and I learned that through Bikini Boot Camp. But it's not like you told me, do this, do this. Yes, you gave me guidance, but then I had to discover on my own what I was
yes.
going to continue to do.
It is a very much, I tell people that Bikini Boot Camp is sort of my answer to personal training, but the biggest part of that is that you are your own 6-week case study. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you things based on what I know, but we're always having the conversation of like, did it work or not? Like after a
Right.
week of doing something or not, you have a pretty good sense of some effectiveness, especially when it comes to nutrition, which we're gonna spend a little time on. But before we switch to nutrition, I wanted to just talk about Bikini Boot Camp a little more. Do you remember do you remember the experience of your first Bikini Boot Camp and what you thought you were signing up for and what you
Yes.
expected versus what happened?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I was the fine, I'll do what you tell me, but it's not going to work. Like I was going to do it 100% to at the end say, okay, I did it.
Told you so.
I exactly. I did it. I did everything you said, and look, it didn't work. And when our first conversation was, I was like, I don't have time. I don't have to. You're like, I know you don't. I know. I know. You have 5 kids, and I'm like, no, but I really don't have time. You're like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was so true. It was like, well, I didn't have time because I wasn't making time for it.
Hmm.
And I've applied that to other parts of my life too, whereas if it's really important to me, I will find time to do it.
Yes.
That goes for anything in your life, whether it's people, when you meet somebody new and it's a boyfriend, like all of a sudden you had all these work things, you're like, oh no, I don't have to go to that. Yeah, sure, we can go have a drink, and it's, or if it's like, oh no, I have so much to do at home, girlfriend calls us like, hey, do you want to go get coffee? You're like, yeah, actually I do. You're like, but 5 minutes ago you didn't have time for anything. So you really do. Through Bikini Boot Camp, I've learned you will make time if it's important to you.
Hmm.
But that first experience, I
Or
was
or
very,
or if you have accountability.
100%. Oh my
Sometimes it being
goodness.
important to you is not enough, right? But if you have
No.
accountability, you're going to make time for it.
Yes. And if you're a rule follower like me and you like to tick all the boxes and you like to turn in your completed worksheet, like all Bikini Boot Camp is great. But I think too, it really depends on where you are at in your life. Like I was at a point where I was like, I will try anything. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'll try it. My sister-in-law, I sold her on Bikini Boot Camp for a long time, and I would give her 3 months for FLK. Try it, you're going to love it. She's like, nah, nah, nah. And then I was like, hey, there's a challenge, do it. She's like, no, I signed up for Bikini Boot Camp. I was like, you did what? I was like, you don't want to like try a challenge first. Like Bikini Boot Camp is like intense and it's real, and you have got to be committed. And she went in and she
Real.
was like, yeah, I mean, like, and she crushed it, and it was great. But again, I think I had a great experience. My first Bikini Boot Camp was the holiday of the end of 2020. So holiday,
Wow.
that one was from Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Oh
So
my
all
God.
of the parties, all of the food, I'm very social with food, all of that. I got through it all and I had incredible results. And I was like, if I can do it at this time of year, I can do it any time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, so you really, I mean, Bikini boot camp is great, but I think what it also showed me was it doesn't have to be so intense
Yes.
all of the time. Like that was a big realization in my first bikini boot camp. Was not expecting. I had no expectations for results. I had no expectations for me enjoying it. I had no expectations of something that I was going to continue to do. I was just going to try it and then say I did it. I have no regrets, but hey, it's not for me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I was
no,
skeptical because I had never done anything like that before.
yeah.
It almost seemed too easy because it was such common sense.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is this gonna work? But it did. And it kept me
still,
coming back.
yeah, like almost 6 years later for Bikini Boot Camp, because that started a little before FLK Method, I still, every time someone does it for the first time, I still have like, I get a little nervous because I'm like, is it going to work? Is it going to work? But it works every time. Because all it is like creating mindfulness around your actions and lining up your actions with what you're saying you want to do. Because most of the time people are saying what they want to do, but they're not. So when someone tells me what they want to do, I have a really good idea of how to get there, especially in the fitness wellness space. Like I have so many things to choose from, but I'm like, okay, if you want to go here, these are the things that are probably going to get you there. And if you have the accountability to do that and you're reporting that every day you're doing that or not, like it becomes a game changer. So now you have the proof that,
right.
oh, doing this leads to this. And this all stemmed from my own personal experience and my aha moment, which was, oh, I don't have to starve myself to lose weight. That was literally my first aha. Like I'm eating 3 meals a day and I'm in better shape than I've ever been. Like what? And that's sort of where that started for me, that depending and committing to a process to see if it works, because you can't see if it, you can't, you have to prove it to yourself. And then once you have that proof, then like Elizabeth was saying, you just know, you can't unknow it. You can't unknow it. You just always have the proof.
And then you no longer have the excuse of, well, I don't know what to do. Yeah, well, actually, you do.
Yeah.
You're just choosing not to do it. So there's a difference between before I didn't know what to do. And that was a kind of an excuse.
Yes.
Now I have no excuse. I do know what to do.
Yes.
But I also think with Bikini Boot Camp, something that you have to say, my children would be like, oh, why don't you just have a bite of ice cream? I'm like, no, because I'm making a choice. I have a no sugar check today. I'm not doing it. Well, she's not going to know. Nobody's watching. I'm like, I know, but I'm doing it for me. And at the end of the day, I'm the one that's responsible for my results.
Yes.
So I always wanted to end a Bikini Boot Camp saying, I did my absolute best.
Yeah.
So whatever results I got, it didn't matter because I know that I did the best that I could. Now, if I would have faked a check here or, not really put in that much effort, but said that I did, then at the end, I couldn't complain because in my heart, I knew that I didn't give that honest effort.
Yeah. And it's also like, I think that you just made me think of something that I haven't thought of before, because this month in Inner Circle, I'm talking about body confidence and building confidence in general, but specifically with our bodies. And one of the reasons Bikini Bootcamp is so effective in the way that I want it to be effective, a selfish reason, which is making women more confident. It's effective in building confidence because you're doing it for you. Like
100%.
You do not have to, you can lie your way through no one will ever know. But you do it for you. And when you do things for you, I mean, and again, before, even if someone is listening to this that's never done Bikini Boot Camp, I mean, when's the last time you did something for yourself, right? Like that's like a lot of women come to me that have never really prioritized their health or themselves, or have looked at it more as a chore instead of like a thing that they want to do. But when you spend 6 weeks committing to yourself, that builds confidence that's unbreakable. And I've been talking about this like so much lately, just about and having my own little epiphanies with like what has been created over the past 6 years of, it doesn't even matter if someone does Bikini Boot Camp for FLK Method for 1 session, 3 months, whatever, like you can apply this method to anything. You could plug in Rumble boxing or Orange Theory, or like you could plug in anything. It is a matter of understanding the method of the I cans and the
Yes.
different areas to take care of yourself. And also a huge part of FLK method that's not really pluggable is the accountability. It's the
Right.
community. It's the community piece. It's
Yes.
the accountability piece. I don't want to forget what I just wanted to talk to you about. We don't really have a time limit, but we shouldn't talk for 2 hours, although Joe Rogan talks for 2 hours. So I'm not Joe Rogan. All right. Food,
Yes.
food.
Yes. My love language.
Yeah. Big foodie. What's the question I want to ask is, how has your nutrition changed? And cooking for a family, everybody
Yes.
has their different things, and this, and your husband, and like how do you do that? And what is like sort of FLK approved versus like how do you eat now versus how you eat then? How do you make that work? Just talk a little
Right.
bit about that.
Sure. I think one thing that I've taken away from FLK that changed, that positively impact the way that I eat is to simplify. I grew up watching the Food Network, even when the Food Network wasn't cool. Like I was watching that guy from Double Dare, I don't remember his name, that would like tell you how jelly beans were made. I don't even know what it was called, like Unwrapped or something. I don't, it was again, it was like so pre anything on the Food Network, but I was watching that. And then I was just a product of, Barefoot Contessa, Gia de Laurentiis, Rachel Ray. I really found like my passion for cooking because it was simple, but yet it wasn't so simple because I was still making sauces for every meal and you have all these ingredients but they tried to sell it to you as these are super simple meals. Then FLK comes along. It's like, no, keep it super simple. Like you are complicating it way too much. And that really changed my approach to every meal does not have to be a gourmet meal. It
Yeah.
has to be delicious, sure. Well-rounded, balanced, yes. But it doesn't have to be, a
A
Bernays.
production.
But
Yeah.
yes, every meal. And that really helped me save time in the kitchen. It helped me um, to cut back a lot on extra things that I really didn't need that are, fine to enjoy on occasion, but I didn't need them all the time. But I think I was very cautious, I would say, about how I approached changing how I ate to my family because I have young girls. I do not want them to grow up in a world where they think that they have to watch everything that they eat. I don't want them to see a mother that is eliminating things or things are wrong. I never use the word cheat because you're not cheating, you're planning for it, as
Yeah.
FLK says. Like, no, I'm not cheating on anything. Like,
Don't
I
cheat. No one's cheating.
yes, nobody's cheating. Like I don't like that word. It's so negative where it's like, no, I know that I'm going to dinner and I'm going to be out a couple of days this week. So I'm going to think about how I'm going to make that work with the rest of my week. I never really look at it as a day. I look at it more as a week. How am I going to balance out my week? So I was very intentional about if I changed the way that I eat, that I presented it in a way that was very healthy, not only for myself, but for how my children perceived me. Yes, they did pick up on, oh, mom's not having dessert or, she's making choices. And I would just say, this is something that I'm just choosing to do for me for now. And then it got to the point where it's like, I don't know, like I just didn't want it. And I can say
Yeah.
it's okay if I just don't want it. It's fine. There are days that you just don't feel like something either. So, um, all I really did was when I started cooking meals that were FLK friendly, I basically everything was a bar, whether it was a taco bar or a pasta bar or something. I made all of the components and then the children could build their plates based off of that. So I
Mm.
would add in, I don't know, maybe I wasn't having pasta that day, but I also had chicken and broccoli. Well, maybe I just chose the chicken and broccoli and I chose not to eat the pasta, but they could put all of those things together. Or I would make an Alfredo sauce. And if they chose to eat that, then they could, where maybe I just chose to use, roasted vegetables instead that they were having on the side. So,
That's such a great idea. I just even want to pause and just say, like, the one of the ways to get away from this person has to eat this person has to eat that, just turn everything into a taco. And then you're
exactly.
done. Like it's
Well,
just a
exactly.
taco.
Well,
It's
that's
the
great.
same
A
concept.
taco, Right. You can make a taco salad
Yeah.
by not using a tortilla or the chips, whatever the case may be. You can make it into a quesadilla and someone could melt cheese on top of it if they want or whatever.
Mhm.
You're still participating in the same meal, just the way that
Yes.
I will
I
have
love
a
that.
child that chooses not to eat the broccoli. That's your choice.
Yes.
Just like I am choosing not to eat the cheese. That's my choice. But
Love
it's
that. I think,
still a
I'm
meal.
sorry, I keep interrupting you, but this is
No.
such an important point because I think a lot of women are hesitant or unsure how to model this type of healthy lifestyle switch because they have not been taught that way. And it
Mm-hmm.
feels wrong to choose healthy foods. And it's like not
Yeah.
having dessert feels like you're going to start an eating disorder when it's just like,
Right.
how do we do that without starting that? And I think that this is such a great way for you to emphasize choice.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
love that.
It's empowering them. And I want them to
Yes.
feel empowered when they go to a meal with other people, or if they're approached with alcohol, or if they're approached with desserts, whatever the case may be. Do you feel like having it? Well, you have the choice to. It's in front of you. Now you have to make the choice because sometimes at the beginning, elimination or just not having it in the house is very helpful. Like I do that with my own children where I don't keep chips, I don't keep ice cream, I don't keep soda in my house because I just don't want it to be readily available to them. And then it becomes a constant battle. Whereas, but not to say that I don't buy them. Like if I plan a meal or having, hamburgers and hot dogs, I'll buy a bag of chips that we will eat for that meal and it'll be over.
Yeah.
And they're not sitting in the pantry every time they walk by, they're looking at it until they can gain that feeling of what it feels like to not have it all the time and to enjoy it on occasions.
Yeah.
Then when they have a better relationship with that, they're all young. It's in their face all the time until they can learn to say, okay, I want it today. I don't want it now. It is nice just not to have it in the house.
I think
I
also
think that,
this is just if you can sort of if you have the opportunity to provide better choices, and I used
mm-hmm,
to stay away from the word better, but I mean there is better when we're talking about definitely people, kids that are like dependent
mm-hmm,
on nutrition. It's like what things can be better and having those as options because I didn't have those options growing up. I didn't have great options. I had like Chef Boyardee and like Weaver chicken
right.
nuggets and like that's just and those were my options and it was what it
Mm-hmm,
was. But if you as a parent have the ability to have better options, that I think ultimately it's what you're doing is so incredible because no matter what you do as a parent, your child is going to enter in society, which is very like in the diet culture and wellness and fitness
mm-hmm,
culture is very has a huge dark side and toxic side. So if you're teaching them choice and showing them nutritious foods are also delicious.
yes,
It doesn't have to be that only Chick-fil-A is good. It could be that, we
absolutely.
make a Chick-fil-A sandwich at home and it's so good and we're just using different ingredients. So the fact that you're showing them that and they know that those are those options, that's so awesome because they're going to be better
Yeah.
equipped in the real world, not just at home.
And those are I think the two pieces that I think are so important about a family is one, you model the behavior. If they see what you are doing and they see that you're enjoying it and it's delicious and that you can, still live a very healthy lifestyle and you're not missing out and you're not being an extremist, then they can learn from you from that. And the other one is empowerment. So not only with choice, but I teach my children how to cook from a very young age. All
Love
of my
it.
children are self sufficient for cooking. And that has two reasons. One is that they become independent individuals who later hopefully will be good partners, or if that's what they choose in their life. But to know how to cook for yourself is a life skill.
Yeah.
And if you know how to cook for yourself, it's going to keep you from eating out because you already know what to do. My children, my 15-year-old, a lot of times she prefers to eat at home just because she's like, I'll be social and I'll eat out. But in the end, I really like the way that I feel in your food. You know what? I can go home and make
And
something,
the food, honestly, the food, and if we're talking about your food specifically, like it's better at home than it is out. So why am I going to go pay for something when it's going to taste better at home?
But they also feel empowered when they cook.
Yeah.
Give a child an air fryer.
Yeah.
I mean, my children use the oven. I mean, it's not that bad. Maybe not give them a gas stove from a young age, fine. But I mean, they all can cook for themselves because I've also simplified the way that I cook in a way that they can do it as well. And so when they feel like they participated in the meal and they cooked it, I guarantee you they're more inclined to eat it.
So this is bringing me to we're just going to do like a quick teaser of some exciting news because we're going to be talking about it all July. Yeah, we're going to do a pre-order in July, but how long have I been telling you to write a cookbook about roughly? I mean, I don't know.
If I know you 5 years, 4 years.
Okay. So, I mean, I think that a lot of people don't do things because they feel that they're already done. So it's like, why would I do that if everybody else is already doing it and people could just Google it and they could use Chat GPT? And for me, it's like, I want to always remind people that no one, not anyone, not Chat GPT, not anyone that has gone to culinary school in your case, not anyone, like you have clinical experience and the clinic is your life in your home and you have hands-on experience that someone else will be deprived of learning because you didn't decide to put how you learned it and how you did it and how it's so easy for you, but you never taught anyone how to do that. So it only remains easy for you. And so that's with so many things for me. Like any time I record a podcast or teach a class or do like I'm teaching people how to do push-ups. Hello. Like that's the most, I mean, so you have to remind yourselves that if anybody out there listening has something sort of like figured out, or even you're learning it or you've gone through a journey, like it's so important to share. And even though people can go on Google and do all this stuff, people still have the desire to learn from different voices, and your voice is going to connect with someone better than someone else's voice ever did. So she finally, through Bikini Boot Camp, we made it one of her checks. So she had the accountability to do it. It's like, okay,
True.
this is your ninth Bikini Boot Camp or whatever it was. So we're going to maybe 19th, who knows? I don't know. This is, and that's why I said part of the pillar, the 4-part pillar is planning, but also just like intellectual piece, because that part of your body needs to grow too. That part of your soul needs to grow too. You have to feed that part, that creator. So we made it. I say she agreed. We made it a part of her checklist. Or I think you said to me, like, make it a part of my checklist and like I'll do it. And I was like, okay. And we are still working on it with the amazing help of my sister also is putting all the formatting together. But her first ebook, and this is her first, and it's going to be the first of many things she does, I'm sure, because honestly, like I know that your lens and the way of looking through things is so special because it has such heart behind it, and it's just such a special way of looking at things and specifically about nutrition. So her first ebook is called Love the Foods You Eat. And we are going to have it available at fitlikechris.com as a downloadable sort of PDF. And just give us a little glimpse of I mean, obviously it's called Love the Foods You Eat, right?
Sure.
So give us a glimpse of what this specific cookbook is about and why you chose this for your first one.
Yeah. So, as a part of the process of planning a cookbook, I had probably 15 different ideas and I could not figure out which one I wanted to settle on. And then it was so clear to me that what I did in Beat Bikini Boot Camp is that I learned to eat the foods that I love that were FLK friendly. So I didn't want to say, no, I'm no longer going to have pasta bolognese because it's not good for me. Well, that's not true. It's an excellent source of nutrition if you swap some very simple ingredients. So my challenge to myself during BBK was, okay, continue to eat the foods that you love, just make some modifications to make them FLK friendly. So I just made a selection of kind of my go-to recipes, because whenever I do a bikini boot camp at the beginning, I meal plan for the full 6 weeks. And so I know exactly what I'm eating. And these were the recipes that I loved. I looked forward to eating them and I kept going back to them. Why? Because they made me feel good. They're easy to make and they're delicious. And I
Yeah.
could feed them to my whole family. And I wasn't making more work for myself.
It's so fitting also with your background of Food Network, watching it since you were young, for you to now be doing something like this. Um, in our on fitlikechris.com, we have a FLK Times, which is our newsletter, and we're featuring one of her recipes out of the book, which is the Greek hummus wrap, very nice and light, very seasonal. Um, and this is the most important thing for me about this book, and the name is, the first word is love. And a lot of love was
Mm.
put into this, and you are just love. You were just like our love and light. And I'm so excited for people to, again, so simple, but people need the instructions, like it's so simple, but people still need, like, just tell me how to do it, like
Yes.
you can Google it, but just tell me. And I know a lot of people listen to you and were hearing you talk about food. And there was at least a few people that were thinking, okay, but tell me, what did you eat? What did you eat? That will be the most common question people ask me, like, what do you eat? But what do you eat for breakfast? And I could tell someone 100 times, they will still ask me. I still get emails from people who have been my clients for 4 years, like, can you send me that smoothie recipe again? I'm like, are we still doing this? So I think like something printable. And I
Yes.
would, on these PDF like cookbooks that are going to be on the website, like, go to Staples, print it out in color, bind it,
Mm.
spend $10 or however much it is to get it printed, instead of just printing it from home. Like, make it a part of your kitchen. And this, you're definitely going to want it to be part of your kitchen because it's delicious. Like she said, you're going to feel good. And for FLK Method members specifically, it's FLK approved, which means for the most part, no added sugar, no dairy, no fried food, no crap. It's all real food. We're all eating whole
Yes.
grains, fruits, vegetables, lean meats, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all very well balanced. There's a variety of different flavors, just to keep it interesting. And that's what you have to do. You can't eat grilled chicken and broccoli every day of your
And
life.
some people do because they don't
I
know
have
what
a
else to
brother who
eat.
did it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're referencing. And you don't have to do that. And it doesn't have to be hard. That's the
No.
key takeaway. This is as easy as that because it's so
Yes.
simple. You just have to make sure that you have the stuff, right? And you're prepared in the sense that, like, if you've never eaten this way, or maybe tried healthier or cleaner recipes because they felt overwhelming or like too much, or that you wouldn't enjoy them, this is the time to do it. All of these are
Hmm.
going to be delicious, and I cannot wait to go. Did you, now in this, because I haven't looked at it much because my sister is doing the editing, but did you give us some story background in this one or
I
no?
did. I tried to make it a little bit
Okay.
personal just to kind of give you some insights into kind of where I was coming from and then a little bit about each recipe. And I can tell you, honestly, my children are capable of making every single recipe in this cookbook. And there are no ingredients that you probably don't already have, like staple wise in your pantry or that you keep in your fridge.
I
Everything's
love
very
this.
basic.
So that is Love the Foods You Eat. We're gonna start a pre-order in July, and then you will get the downloadable version, I think starting August 1st. We just want to make sure it's perfect, as perfect with a K before we email it, before we send it out to everybody to print. But until then, you can get a sneak peek with the recipe that is on our newsletter right now, and we'll be doing one more recipe. And these are breakfast, lunch, and dinner, correct? You have things for
Correct.
all? Okay,
Yes.
awesome. That's
Awesome.
so good. This is like, and especially if you're doing Bikini Boot Camp or you joined FLK Method
Hmm.
recently, like this is going to be such a great support for, like, what do I eat during Bikini Boot Camp? Here
Yes.
you go. This is it.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
people are getting sick of my ab rehab smoothie. Okay, so we are gonna do. I started doing these like fast five, and then I stopped, and I was like, I want to bring this back for this episode. Oh, she just went off. We're going to stay and wait till she comes back because that's what we do. So I'm going to ask her 5 questions. I'm going to give her a minute to answer. And if she doesn't come back because her phone died, then I'm just going to answer the questions for her. And thank you so much for listening to the Fit Like Krys podcast, by the way. You could search the Fit Like Krys podcast. You could watch it on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify. Now is the time to subscribe, like, share, since we're waiting for Elizabeth to come back. I don't know if she's going to come back. Hold on, let me open WhatsApp. Let's see. WhatsApp. Oh, her phone might have died. Hold on, let me ask her. I was going to ask her what her biggest lesson learned was, what her favorite check is. She's a busy mom tip. Come on, Elizabeth. Her phone definitely died because she was on this call on her phone. All right. Well, we got in what we needed to get in. And that's all you can hope for at FLK Method. It's not about everything. It's about most of the time, right? It's the rule, not the exception, like she said. So we got the basics done. We got through the cookbook, which I really wanted to talk about. And she is, I mean, I could talk to her for 2 hours. I think this was probably the longest podcast I've done. I could talk to her for a long time, and she just is a wealth of information. And maybe I'll have her back once the cookbook drops. But please find out more about FLK Method if you're not a member, and Bikini Bootcamp. Like, Bikini Bootcamp can change your whole life, like the whole thing, in 6 weeks. And then you can never do it again, and you can never do FLK Method, but what you learn from Bikini Bootcamp will be invaluable. It has nothing to do with a bikini unless you want it to. We could totally make that happen, right? So if you haven't done Bikini Bootcamp, I mean, that is one of the things that has created that foundation for her to be so consistent. She started probably a couple months after she found me on Instagram, and really anybody who does that program, really, those are my clients that really stay consistent and have been consistent for 5 years. Like, what's the last thing you could say? Like, I've been consistent with that thing for that long, you know? So I am impressed by her and all my clients and me. And we're all impressive because we've been doing the same thing for over 5 years. And I'm just very impressed at all of us, and grateful for all of you crew members listening right now. And if you haven't joined, you can anytime for $30. Go to fitlikekris.com, FITLIKEKRYS.com. Please pre-order, support her first cookbook so she can do more for us, because she has so many great ideas. I wanted to get into a little bit more about her ideas for her second and third edition, because she came to me with like 6 ideas, and I helped her pick this one for the first one. But everybody will love this. This is for everybody. And that was Elizabeth Restivo. You can find her on Instagram as FLK Fan. She literally created an Instagram account called FLK Fan because she just wanted to do it to post FLK content when she first started, because she's not like a super social media person. So she's FLK Fan, FLK FAN on Instagram. You could ask her questions and look out for her brand new e-cookbook coming to fitlikekris.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we are back with the podcast. We had a little bit of break, but we're back with some amazing guests and some amazing topics. And I will see you next time. Have an amazing day. And how many times can you say amazing in 1 minute? Because I just said it 4 times. Amazing. Bye.